Hey everybody, Professor Doom 1 here. Hopefully you guys will follow me on my backup channels, Professor Doom and the number 2. That's Professor Space Doom and the number 2. Rebel Space Yes and the number 23. And check me out on Rumble, Professor Space Doom and capital I, Roman numeral 2. So, you know what's very interesting when you think about this, everything going on in Maui, and we're going to be talking a lot about Maui here in this video, because I want to show you something dated back from 2022. There's a lot of information that came out just today that we're going to be covering. I didn't want you guys to think that I didn't care about the story anymore, because I absolutely despise these people in not the landowners, but your governor, your mayor, your emergency guy, Mr. Herman Andaya, who refused to turn on the siren. We're going to be talking about all of these things here and the story that came out today. What's interesting is that Hawaiian Electric, yes, Hawaiian Electric, has a majority holdings, institutional holdings, Vanguard, BlackRock, and you see number 4, State Street. These are important because I've already created a video that it appears that these 3 entities right here own majority stock in 88% of the corporations that trade on the stock market. Okay. So if they work together and to formulate a plan to bring about an agenda, let's take a look at the whole Target store. Let's just use that as an example. There's been other corporations or companies such as Anheuser-Busch that has basically destroyed themselves trying to push the transgender agenda. And so has Target. Target now has been, they come out with it. They're trying to appeal to kids with this whole transgender clothing, and people have been boycotting. But do you know what's interesting about all that? With shareholder meetings and board of director meetings, how come there hasn't been any institutional shareholders suing the Target CEO? And watch, I'll show you. Let me show you this. Sued by shareholders over its failed partnership. So has anybody asked why Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street and other shareholder institutions haven't sued Target for making it why wouldn't you sue them? They come up with this plan and they get boycotted without thinking about the ramifications, especially after Anheuser-Busch was boycotted. Wouldn't you not want to do that? Or wouldn't you advise the corporation, because you are majority shareholders, not to do something because you are going to lose money in the whole thing? Wouldn't you do that? So now think about this, all right? Let's take a look at what the Hawaiian Electric happened. And now a bunch of, there's no power in a lot of spots in Lahaina. There are, how many homes are destroyed? How many businesses are destroyed where electric was being paid for by customers, and now there are no customers to require electricity? And why wouldn't the shareholders sue Hawaiian Electric? Because you should have shut the electricity off during hurricane-style winds. Why don't you think there has been any talk about lawsuit of Hawaii Electric? A shareholder is going to take a huge loss, aren't they? Aren't they? So now let's take a look at the next part of this that I wanted to show you. Now, I'm not going to get into the water aspect again about the water being turned off and people weren't able to fight the fire whatsoever. Suffice it to say that, as I said in my other video about this, is that there's fire stations all over the United States because fires happen. But why wouldn't you have the water turned on so that these fires could maybe have been, repelled somewhat? But do you know what's really freaking, this is insanity if you ask me. Emergency Services Chief, yes, Mr. Herman Andaya, says he has no regrets about not setting off the sirens. These sirens are some of the best in the world, and it's the taxpayers who paid for these sirens to be installed to protect them against things just like this. But you didn't utilize them because, well, in his words, is that he feared that people were going to run towards the mountains and they were going to run to the fire. Here's the thing. They didn't have to worry about running to the fire because the fire came to them. But your whole excuse or your whole statement that you say, I don't know why this is not moving. Now it is. But listen to what he says. Oh, well, okay, maybe not. Something else I want to say about this is that they're talking about not, conducting a probe to find out if there was any kind of criminal acts on the part of anybody. Of course. Who's going to conduct the probe? The police chief, the one who blockaded Front Street so that people couldn't escape? But you got this guy right here. Let's look what he says. Mr. Herman Andaya had said this week that he had no regrets about not deploying the system because he feared it could have caused people to go mauka, a Hawaiian term that can mean toward the mountains or inland. Listen to me, okay? Think about this a second. If you sound the sirens, and if 80% of the people run to the island or inland, run inland or towards the mountain, and the other 10% of the people actually, they see that the fire is a certain direction and they run the other direction, you've saved the lives of 100 people, if indeed 1,000 people are dead right now and they haven't all been found. So you have no regrets that 1,000 people are missing when even if 10% could have been saved, you would have saved 100 people. This whole thing doesn't make a bit of sense. In a totality aspect, when you think about all this, the no water, the electric not being turned off, all of this, and there's more. Now the reports from today are about eviction notices being sent out to. Now, I will say a disclaimer here in this video. The officials there in Maui are saying that they're denying the evictions, but I'm going to show you something dated from 2022 that you're going to find of interest. Let's take a look at something the governor said. Let's take a look at the eviction notices that are claimed to have gone out. And then we're going to take a look at something from 2022. Interesting to me that the governor has put a moratorium on any lands being sold to speculators or investors. But yet he comes out and says this about the state of Hawaii. Or not.
Moving forward.
I'm
already thinking about ways for the state to acquire that land so that we can put it into workforce housing, to put it back into families, or to make it open spaces in perpetuity as a memorial
to make it open spaces.
We want this to.
That was an or, not both.
After the pain passes.
Okay. These are the reports going out right now about eviction notices being handed out to people who didn't even lose their homes. Let's take a listen. And if you were able to capture a glimpse of the eviction notice, you will see that they went out on 8/15/2023. Okay, let's take a look.
Someone please debunk me. You can actually evict the Maui wildfire survivors? Like, tell me you're joking.
Do not give up Maui. Do not let them take your land. I just saw this morning, just now on TikTok, they are giving eviction notices to people whose houses didn't burn down.
No fucking way. Like, I wasn't in the conspiracy camp where, like, space lasers caused the Hawaiian wildfires on purpose, but I sure as shit knew BlackRock, Vanguard, and other bankers weren't going to give up a fire sale. So, like, before I freak out and, like, start sharpening the guillotines, like, maybe this is just a one-off, right?
This Lahaina shit is insane. I have a friend who lost his home. He lost everything, but this isn't for him. This is somebody else by him. They didn't lose their home, but they're about to, because the mayor is evicting the entire fucking building. Some of the only people that still had homes, and they're evicting them. They have 45 days. Pause to read.
I wish I didn't fucking pause to read. You mean to tell me that if the sus wildfire didn't make me homeless, the government is now going to, even though I had a home to go back to? And, like, does the excuse even make sense to anyone? It's like you have no press release on how you're going to rehabilitate the area, but you will hand me an eviction notice and tell me I have 45 days to get out, but, like, I'll get my deposit back. Just don't be late on rent. Like, you haven't even talked to FEMA on how you're going to rehouse everybody that is actually homeless. Like, we're supposed to believe you now?
These are the last people on this island in this little area that have a home still, and they're kicking them out of it. I hope this is the straw that breaks the camel's back.
So I went to go and Google search about these eviction notices, and I found a very interesting story that came up from 2022 September. And if you will listen to the last one right there, it was talking about the mayor and the city council of Maui. It's not the governor that's handing out these eviction notices. It's the mayor. And what's interesting here is it was the Maui mayor and the council that was moving to acquire the Lahaina crossroads after tenants face eviction. Right here. Lahaina Crossroads Apartments tenants join hands at a Lahaina town demonstration to shed light on the lack of affordable housing for workforce residents. And it says, after longtime residents, including Kapuna on fixed incomes, spoke out about looming evictions at one of the last affordable apartment rentals left in Lahaina. County leaders are making moves to purchase the 20-unit Lahaina Crossroads located building blocks away from Front Street. Mayor Michael Victorino is requesting up to $11 million to purchase the building. Why? If it's been used to house these people for the longest, why all of a sudden are you needing to purchase it out from under them and then evicting them so that they have nowhere to live? Why are you now evicting these people, if it be true? Let's put this in little quotation marks. If that be true, why are you evicting people whose houses are still standing in Lahaina? Does any of this make sense? If you look at the totality of everything that I spoke on right here, you have the makings of the perfect storm. The electricity, who the stockholders are for the electric company, the water not being turned on, the sirens not being turned on or set off. You have all of this going on right now. You have a police chief who ordered the blockade of Front Street so that people couldn't get out that one certain direction where the fire was headed? All of this, this is the making of a perfect storm. But if you have the makings of a perfect storm, who has this kind of power to make people dance to their tune? Vanguard, BlackRock, State Street, Target Corporation was dancing to their tune for the transgender agenda. All of these corporations that are about doing this and losing money because of people not going to these businesses. Who's losing money? But who doesn't care about losing the money? The shareholders that are behind the creation of these agendas. You look at all of that now. Who's going to acquire these properties in Lahaina, and what are they going to do with it? I think we already have the answer to that. A lot of people have been speculating because there's evidence of the 15-minute city, and everything that they're doing now just goes to confirm our suspicions that that's exactly what it is. Thanks, everybody.